So based on seeing a lot of Instagram posts, Facebook posts, and just general texts and emails from my friends and people I know, it seems as though people are already going stir crazy with this need to pretty much just stay at home. Well, I am a self-described expert at keeping myself amused, and I've already built a routine and a lifestyle around staying home. So I thought I might share some of my tips with you. So if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead and click on the subscribe button and stay tuned. So it occurs to me that I am the kind of person who has always been really good at keeping herself amused. I was a really big nerd in high school and I didn't go anywhere, and I would board myself up in my room. I don't know what I did. I scrolled through the radio listening for Duran Duran songs and acting skits to myself in the mirror. I don't really know. All I know is that I am very, very skilled at keeping myself amused for hours and hours on end, which is a skill set that is coming in handy lately. But I thought I would just share a little bit of my experience, a little bit of my insight. So I'm a really, really big believer in a loose routine. And what I mean by that is sometimes I will have a schedule and that just gets upended because all of a sudden I have some urgent requests from clients, as I did this week because of the crazy stuff we're going through right now. So there was a lot of requests for like emergency telephone prompts and things like that. But that has sort of always been my experience. And so what I've learned to do is have a number of rituals or habits that help to keep my brain occupied, my anxiety low, and kind of just keep my positivity and happiness higher. As an example, I meditate almost every day, but rather than tell myself I have to meditate for 20 minutes, I only do it for 5 minutes. Now, there are some days where I'm feeling especially spinning and like I can't focus, and then maybe I'll do it for 10 or 20 minutes. But by doing it for 5 minutes most days, it has simply created an impulse to want to do it. So whenever I find myself with 5 minutes waiting for laundry, if I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, then I might use that time to meditate. Same thing with exercise. I will just do 10 to 20 minutes of exercise and I'll keep it really, really light. I don't put these huge expectations on myself. Sometimes that consists of me just leaving the house and going for a walk. As part of that, once I'm outside, sometimes the last 5 minutes of that walk, I'll decide to jog home, right? So I get my heartbeat a little bit more elevated. Sometimes I'll tag on a little stretching. Sometimes I'll do some leg lifts or some like 10 push-ups or something before I go out. But it really is just about creating that daily habit of activity, of exercise. In terms of activities to prevent myself from getting bored, one of the things that I've really enjoyed doing, and it takes about 20 minutes a day, it seems, is learning a language. So I've been using the app Duolingo to learn Korean, and I especially find it interesting to learn a language where I've also had to learn an entirely new alphabet, because I just feel like I'm firing things off in my brain that I haven't had to fire off since I was 4 or 5. So that is definitely something that occupies a lot of space in my brain and is very gratifying. It doesn't feel like I'm making a huge amount of progress, but I was just listening to myself. I had recorded myself doing my lesson so that I could listen when I'm doing things like folding laundry, maximizing efficiency. And I noticed that even from 2 weeks ago, my pronunciation is much better and much easier than it was. The other thing is giving yourself arbitrary deadlines. And especially if you sort of communicate it to the world, it makes you kind of more accountable. So YouTube is mine. I've been doing these videos for a little over a year on a weekly basis, although technically I didn't upload one last night. I'm going a day late, but even so, this is one of those things where I've learned to just not beat myself up, get back on track with it. James Clear in the book Atomic Habits says, try not to break the chain, right? By breaking the chain or by continuing this chain that you're doing every day, it really does just create this impulse to keep doing it, right? You kind of just keep going with that inertia. And he says, don't beat yourself up when you break it. Just try to not break it more than 2 times in a row, I think. So kind of adhering to that philosophy, I did technically break the chain last night. I think it was the first time that I didn't upload a video on a Friday without kind of saying I wouldn't, or when I was in the middle of Vlogmas. So yeah, so I'm kind of feeling like it's the first time I really kind of broke that rule, but I'm gonna do it a little later. So it's just going up later. But having that arbitrary deadline every week, it gives me a job to do, right? It's not a job where I'm getting paid, but I do think it's going to be really important in this time to give ourselves jobs to do and not get caught up in what ifs. Now, obviously we have to plan and we have to think of things, you know, for those people who are losing their jobs, and all of that kind of stuff is obviously scary. But there's only so much of these worrying scenarios that is helpful, and otherwise it is really about finding a routine, finding things to look forward to in your daily routine. The other thing I've learned in managing my time, being a work from home person, is give yourself maybe three tasks, 3 priorities, 3 things that you really want to get done that day, and be realistic, right? So you have to look at these things that you want to get done and start to analyze and recognize, you know, when you're putting down something that has 20 tasks attached to it, right? You only want to be putting down 1 or 2 of the actual tasks that is going to help you achieve that goal. You know, there are days where my priority is record a script for a client, exercise, and film for YouTube, and that's it. I was reading somewhere that there has to be a balance between consumption and creation, right? So when we're passively watching movies and Netflix, eating, whatever, right? That's all consumption, right? And if we do way too much of that, you know, we tend to feel down, right? And we tend to feel less energized. You know, and then the opposite is true too, that as creative people, you want to create, you want to produce, you want to be productive, but you can't have too much of that either, right? You have to have a little bit of both, and you have to have stillness. You have to have rest in between those 2 things. But I'm probably going to make some more specific videos on some of the various activities that I do to prevent myself from getting bored, to occupy my time, some things that I enjoy doing, and I'll share those with you. But if you like this video, go ahead and click the subscribe button. And if you have any tips, any advice for how you're keeping yourself occupied during this very unprecedented time, I would love to hear them. Any tips about keeping boredom away, just keeping anxiety away, please go ahead and comment below. But thank you so much for watching.